lot of people call me and ask, how much will it cost for me to help them? That's not my first thought. My first thought is, how can I add value to this person where they need it, when they need it, and how they need it? What I think is what I feel. What I feel is what I say. And what I say is what I do. My superpower is influencing, impacting, and empowering someone. Now, influence is having an effect on someone. Impact is having a strong effect on someone, and empower is helping someone go to a higher level.
One line, two sides, and a choice. See, we have to decide, we have to make that choice if we want to cross the line or we want to stay where we are.
Talent is a gift, but greatness, it's a choice.
Okay. Okay, friend, we're going to be doing this a couple of times today, all right?
See, the only difference between ordinary and extraordinary is extra. The only difference between winning and losing is belief. The only difference between a team reaching their full potential and not reaching their full potential is desire. The only difference between hot water and boiling water is 1 degree. You see, at 211 degrees, water's hot. At 212 degrees, water boils. With boiling water comes steam. With steam, you can power a train. The only difference between your team being ordinary and extraordinary is LaFleur Leadership Institute. I want to ask you, are you willing to never give up on yourself? Well, hello, and welcome to the show. Tonight we are excited about this launch, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to celebrate it. And guess what? We want you in the audience to be here with us tonight. So let me just get the show started. And first, we're going to welcome the coach, Miss Tywauna Wilson. How you doing?
Cedric, my friend, how are you? I am well, but I am more excited to be in the studio with you tonight.
I'm excited as well. And let me tell you what, tonight, folks, we are officially launching Leading with Emotional Intelligence, Unlocking the Power of Emotions One Step at a Time. Emotional intelligence is one of those things that very few people have, a high emotional intelligence. In fact, we have a quote in the book that says only about 36% of people in the world are emotionally intelligent. Now, what does that mean? That means they are strong in their emotional intelligence, their self-awareness, their social awareness, the way they manage themselves and connect with others. And tonight we're going to be talking about that. So I'm excited to have you with us as we go along on this journey. So I want you to grab your tea, grab your water, call a friend, reach out and touch someone and have them join us tonight. So, I called her the coach, but she's much more than just the coach. She's a laboratory leader. So she's a clinical laboratory scientist, smart lady, right? And she's the coach, but she's also the president of Trendy Elite Media Group. Now, Trendy Elite Media Group is a published company that you should be connected with. Not only has she published all of my books so far, she has published, and she's going to tell you in just a little bit, a lot of books. Okay. So now when someone, you hear that someone publish a lot of books, that means she has experience with it. That means she's knowledgeable in that area. So Tywauna, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what makes you do what you do?
Well, thank you, Cedric. Well, everybody that's out there, hello. Thank you for joining us for this book launch. My name is Tywauna Coach T. Wilson, and I am a medical laboratory scientist by background. So I am a lab leader. I have been in the laboratory industry for 20 years, and I coach, train, and speak to medical laboratory professionals and new leaders, helping them accelerate their careers so that they can have careers that make them proud. So by background, I'm a scientist, but I am also a creative. So I got into the book publishing and podcasting space. I had my own live radio show, maybe at least 5 years ago now. But I got into the book space in 2019, where I was a contributing author to a book called 𝗘𝗺𝗱𝗴. It was my first book project. And so from there, it was like it ignited something inside of me. So I said, well, you can be technical, but you can also be creative too. And so I got into the book space of writing. I came out with my book, Some Leaders Wear Lab Coats. And then I said, I want to help others who have a book inside of them to be able to get their message out. Sometimes we just sit and we say, I'm going to write my book. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to share my story. And that book is still in a notebook. Why? Because we don't know where to get started, or we are waiting for perfection. And so I've got into this space. I have helped over 60 authors at this point be able to write their book, be able to publish their book, and have their message and leave a lasting legacy. So with the books, with the podcasting, I'm all about elevating your leadership authority. So whether that's with your books or with your leadership in the workplace, then that is my goal for the next generation.
Wow, that is awesome right there. Thanks for sharing that with us and with our audience. So tonight, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk a lot about the emotion and intelligence, right? But what we're trying to do and what we want to do is get the word out and the message out that emotionally strong leaders are important, right? For a lot of different reasons, right? It's also leaders who have a high intelligence. We know that that is responsible for them climbing the corporate ladder, right? And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to share with links on how to purchase the book, how to take an emotional intelligence assessment. Sometimes you may want to know, where am I? Right. With that, and guess what? We have workshops that are going to be coming that you'll be able to be a part of to help you become an emotionally strong leader. So without further ado, let's just get started. So Tywauna, if you think about yourself as a laboratory leader and a leadership coach, what unique challenges do medical laboratory leaders face that emotional intelligence can help them address?
That's a great question, Cedric. And right now, laboratory leaders are faced with so much, right? So we have the pressure of the laboratory. We are very busy, but we're short-staffed. And so we're busy trying to be perfect, delivering results, correct results each and every time, not compromising quality, but we're also faced with the burnout because we've seen a lot of people leave the industry. They left the industry because of stress. They left the industry because some of these environments are not supportive environments. Some of these environments, I hate to say it, but they are actually toxic environments. And so we are seeing that there's conflict in the workplace, and it's not enough just to be good technically. And so emotional intelligence comes into play where we are dealing with conflict with our teams, where we are dealing with communication and having to have that communication, effective communication with our teams. And so that's a part of what we as lab leaders are faced with. That's with yes, the little one wants to jump in here, but that's with us as laboratory leaders, we're faced with enhancing our team performance. So we need emotional intelligence. We have multiple generations in the workplace today. And that one way of communicating that maybe was effective 10, 15 years ago is no longer effective today. And so when leaders really get committed to having strong emotional intelligence, then that's where you start to see their team start to thrive. That's where you start to see the needle move on getting some of those metrics and things that they are monitoring. So I think that's the thing that lab leaders are faced with today. But you have that burnout, you have that short staffing, you have all of those other factors that lead to the leaders who are leading these teams needing these essential skills.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. That's some good stuff. Let's just keep talking about the book, and in a little bit we're going to show people how they can get the book. But let's just keep going. You know, when we've been on this journey, and part of tonight we're going to also share with you on the journey that we're on about writing books, right? So we are partnered together to write 10 books, right? Now, you know, when we first started talking about this, I think I only had one book at the time. And I was like fine with where I was, right, with that. And then we decided to have a conversation around this and partner together on writing books. A lot of people get stuck with trying to figure out, they know they have something inside of them, but they don't know how to get started, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say is the best way for someone to get started? And we'll talk about our process in just a little bit, but what do you think is the best way for someone to get started?
I would say get clarity around your goals for the book. And what I mean by that is, why are you writing this book? Are you writing this book just to share your message? Are you writing this book for exposure for your brand? Because people write books for different reasons, right? So some people write books for, business related purposes. I have a business related topic or message that I think would help others. Some people write memoirs or books about their story as a way to help others. I know I have talked with a lot of people who's interested in writing a book. They're not really sure where to start. And so getting that topic. So I know I like to give practical tips for my readers. So I like books that are easy to read, that are easy to understand, and more importantly, easy to implement. And so getting clarity around that topic of what you want to write about. And so sometimes that requires you to get with a coach, get with a writing coach that can help you be able to write a book that's going to meet your needs. And then when you want to get your book out there, know that it's going to come with a cost. And what I mean by that cost is, that cost is going to be time, right? So the time that it takes for you to write that book is going to come with the time to the cost to promote that book or get it published. Well, get it published first. So you have to get it published so that it can be professional and get out there to the world. And then you have to, there could be a cost to actually marketing your book. So some people seem to think, and this is a myth, that you can write a book, you put it on Amazon, and it just sell itself. So I have seen people do that. They like, I wrote a book, it's on Amazon, and they're looking for it to sell itself, and they never tell anybody about it. And so, I mean, there's millions looking for it to sell itself, and they never.
I think Tywauna muted herself.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Something crazy. So because there's so many books on Amazon, people just think sometimes that they promote themselves. So one of the things I would say is get with a writing coach if you're not sure what you want to write about. And if once you get with that writing coach, somebody like me, then you are able to get some clarity around that. And then we're able to fast track what it looks like to write a book, outline a book, and simplify the process. It's really not that difficult, but once you understand how to do it, then it's easier for you to move from A to B. Sometimes people want to tell their life story in one book, and that's what many books are for you to be able to talk about as many things as you want to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. I remember our process when we were going through the very first book, The Blueprint for Management Success. And you said to the team who was putting this together, it's easy. You can do a chapter in a weekend. And, you know, everybody's like, wait, what? That's a lot to do in one weekend, right? But that's the power of also having people around you who've gone before you, who've done it before, and understand the writing process, how you can put it together in one weekend, right? One chapter, not an entire book, all right? One chapter. And then you, over the next several days or weeks, you then start massaging that chapter, right? But you get all your stuff out and put it together on paper, whether you type it, you write it, whatever, you just all on paper, and then you can go back and review and massage it and wordsmith it and all of that type of stuff. But you're absolutely right. The process is not as daunting as most people think it is.
Right. Everybody has a bestseller inside of them waiting to be written. You just need help getting it outside of you.
That is true. And for me, folks, what I did in that first book, we went to Belize, and we were, the room that we were, the suite that we were in was a corner room right on the water. And we had this huge balcony. And every morning about 5 a.m., I would get up and I'd go out there and write. And listening to the sounds of the wave, that's always relaxing to me. But listening to the sounds of the water, I was just chopping it out. And in 4 days, I wrote 3 chapters. And you would think that, oh my God, that's overwhelming. But when you sit down and you get yourself in a relaxed mode, you know what it is you want to write about, it starts to flow. And so that's how I did it. And, you know, now we're on this journey. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, if you'd asked me about writing a book, I was telling people, no, I have notes and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not interested in that. And now I'm on this journey, right? So, and two, that's what I want to do. You. So make sure that you get with someone like Tywauna, and guess what? Her company has room. So all you have to do is contact her and be willing to commit to the process, right? And the commitment, I'm going to tell you folks, the commitment to the process is time, it's energy, it's effort, and it's your resources. All right. By resources, what I mean is it's going to cost you. Okay. And it's going to cost you an investment in yourself. And you're going to be glad that you decided to invest in yourself if you don't do anything else, but you want to do this. Because what you want is 100 years from now, you want people to remember you. And with that book out there, they will. Don't take it all to the grave with you. All right. So let's keep going. Let's talk about, let's keep going and talk about the book here and what we decided to do and how we decided to put this book together. So we have a process where we're looking at different categories and started thinking about this. We have books in different categories. And the very first book was a leadership book, right? That's the Blueprint for Manager Success. This next book on leading with emotional intelligence is about personal development, right? And with this, and at the end of the show tonight, we'll talk about our next book, right? And the area that it falls in as well. But we have a strategic plan on where books should fall and what categories we should write them in. And you should have a process like that as well. So leading with emotional intelligence is something that's near and dear to me. When I was a new leader, I didn't really have a high emotional intelligence. Now, let me say this. It doesn't mean that you can't lead if you don't have a high emotional intelligence. It just means you're not going to be an effective leader if you don't have high emotional intelligence, okay? And your team you may not connect well with your team if your emotional intelligence is not high, right? And I'm secure in who I am, so I'm okay with saying that. And in fact, in the book, I put right up front in the book, in the dedication area, I list people who I believed helped me develop my emotional intelligence. So I list in some of my former employees who went through those low moments with me. Right? And, you know, when you're leading people, you're driving for results. I'll just say it up front. In my business, in sales, it's about the number. It's either you deliver the number or you don't. There's nothing else you can say but, hey, we didn't do it, right? However, you have to also remember that there are people that's trying to help you get that number. So you have to understand how best to help them, treat them, and get along with them. Because you help them get what they want, they're going to help you get what you want. So I put that very upfront in the book that, you know what, I wasn't the best leader when I was young, and I attribute that to emotional intelligence. As you grow, what happens? Your emotional intelligence goes up. Unless you decide that you want to stay in a specific area, you don't want to improve, you don't want to get better. Your ego is too much for you to say, I'm changing, I'm developing. And let me tell you, I definitely wanted to change and be better for that. So, Tywauna, for you, what's the why for you behind this particular book?
Yeah, so as we were getting ready to write this book, and I was thinking about the importance of it. And like you, early in my career, I think that my emotional intelligence wasn't as high as it could be either. Early in my career, well, I was single, I didn't have any children. And so I was just focused on me and career. And some of the things that my colleagues or my employees dealt with, I really couldn't relate with and didn't necessarily know how to. And so as a leader who's focused on continuing to improve and get better, I knew that I had to put myself in situations in which I was uncomfortable with in order to relate to my team. You know, I didn't know what it felt like to be a single parent trying to get to work on time and getting home and leaving on time to get your kids, and, just having empathy for others. And so you don't just get it, you get better with practice.
Right.
And so, for me, it was important to participate in this project because I see the value and I see how having a strong emotional intelligence impact teams. I know what it's like to be a leader and have your leader come into your laboratory or your environment that's already stressful, hollering and screaming because we're not meeting turnaround times, or something is not working as, as planned. And I know how that can impact teams. I know how that can be a trigger to some people when you hear somebody coming hollering and screaming. And so, I just thought it was important to give some practical strategies. I've spent a lot of time, resources, and finance of trying to learn different techniques so that I'm able to interact in any environment with any group of employees, with any group of patients, with any stakeholders. And so that's why this project was really important to me, because I see the difference that it makes when a leader cares, when a leader has empathy, when a leader has compassion, when a leader listens. It makes a huge difference, because you never know what somebody goes through or what it takes just for somebody to show up each and every day.
Yes, absolutely. And, what I want the audience to do is I want you to reflect right now in this moment. I want you to think about your leadership. Where can you improve your emotional intelligence? Where can you improve the way you connect with your people? Where can you improve in the behavior that you display with your team, right? And look, there's no shame in that. It is what it is. This is what growth is all about. And that's what leading with emotional intelligence is all about, helping people grow and go to a whole nother level, right? In this book, we put in this book some tools that you can use in your everyday management of people, in everyday leadership of leading a team, leading a project, things that you can do that that's not going to take forever to get the concept and do it, right? Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. Not only do you benefit from it, your team benefits from it. They get better, they get stronger, they get to the next level because you take them there. And they will never go there unless you, as a high emotional intelligence leader, take them there, right?
Absolutely. So Cedric, I do have a question for you, because I'm a good mentee and I'm going to take this moment to talk with my mentor and see. I know you train a lot of leaders from the sales side, from schools to, school districts, school leaders, and students. So I'm curious to hear your perspective around a challenging time, maybe when you had to use emotional intelligence in your career, or how did
So the end of your message cut out, but I think I got the gist of what you said. How did I use emotional intelligence during a challenging time?
Yes.
So, there was a time that my organization called me up and said, hey, we noticed this happening. You may not know about it, but we want you to know about it, and we need to do something about it, right? Now, I could have lost my mind and went crazy and all of this type thing, right? But I stayed calm in that moment, right? And in that moment, one of the things I remember specifically getting off the phone with the organization, and I dropped on my knees and I just said a prayer. And I asked for strength in how to handle that matter, right? Because I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to pick up the phone and I wanted to call that person, and we were going to have some difficult conversation. But I know that I couldn't do that because, my professionalism would not have come through that phone. Mm-hmm. Right? So I had to be calm, cool, and collective. And that's one of the moments that I could tell that all the training that I was going through was working, because it made me do something different. It made me think before I said something, right? In those moments, right? Now, I'll tell you that was, it was definitely a learning moment for me. I was traveling with one rep, and I was on the phone having a difficult conversation with another rep. And that person didn't want to do the things that we as the organization wanted them to do. And that person cursed me. And, you know, I just said this. I said, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get off the phone right now. And when I get back on the phone with you, I'm going to pretend we didn't have this conversation. And I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear you say. Because if I don't, I'm going to go to the airport right now, and I'm going to fly to your city, and we're going to have some words in person. And I said, and you're not going to like what I have to say. And I said, I'm just going to leave it like this. And I hung up the phone. I said, don't let this suit fool you. And I got off the phone. Now, I knew the person I was traveling with was like, wow, said you were calm. I said, whoo, man, let me tell you. He just don't know what was going to happen. I said, so I knew that was the second time, but I knew that things were changing in terms of how I was handling things. My emotional intelligence was increasing, right? Mm-hmm. All of the training that I was going through with my company, we go through different training courses every year. And we can take all of these personal development courses, and I'd gone through a few of them, and I could tell it was working. And this goes to what I like to tell audiences all the time when I'm talking to them. You don't have to see evidence to know that it's working. You see, sometimes it's working underneath the surface. You won't see the evidence until you need that moment, that situation arises. And then you'll notice that you handle things differently. Mm-hmm. You may, when your emotional intelligence goes up, you don't fly off the handle as much anymore, right? You stay calm in those moments. You collect your words in those moments. In other words, you stop and think before you speak. You no longer are that person who says, I'm just going to tell you the way I want to tell you because that's who I am. You stop and you think and you collect your thoughts and you say something that's going to come out the right way, so that the next day you don't have to be, maybe in HR or something apologizing. And if you're a leader, trust me, you probably had those moments, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, you can't just say everything that comes to mind.
Yes. See, when I was in the Air Force, it was easy because all I had to do was pick up the phone and call security police. Say, hey, we need to pick up the person. Okay. It was that easy. It's not like that in the civilian sector.
No, that definitely will not fly. And you definitely will be in HR.
So, I always say I look good in stripes, but not those type stripes.
Right. I do. As you were talking, it made me think. And, sometimes you said you really won't know the value until you're in those moments. Well, what would you tell a new leader who's thinking, because of course, in different environments, it's all about metrics. It's all about things that you can deliver, that you can see right away. So what would you tell a new leader about the value if they need to convey that to their organization for doing any kind of emotional intelligence training about the value of that, how would you tell them so to sell that to their group that it's important?
Yes, well, I'll tell
Because
you
it's
the
not
same way that
tangible.
I'll tell you the way that I used to tell some of our my peer leaders. See, some people get caught in, well, that's going to hit my budget, right? I tell my teams all the time, you are required to take at least one course every year. I'm not worried about whether it's in person or if it's virtual or whatever. You just have to take one. You see, the cost didn't matter to me because I know that if I help this person grow, their sales numbers are going to go up because they're going to think differently. They're going to be different. So it was going to help them long term. So for those peers who had that train of thought that it's going to impact my budget, I would tell them, so let me ask you this. So this person stayed on your team for 5 years and they thought the same way on day, 5 years later as they thought on day one. Is that helping your team? No.
Right.
So then what you better do is help that person grow and get better and think different, because if not, they're going to be behind. Your team is going to be behind, and you can't afford that, right? So quit looking at, oh, it's going to cost me, let's say the course is $400 and then a plane ticket is $300 and then a hotel night is, a couple $100. Let's quit looking at that level of detail. Just like Lana says, look at the ROI, the return on investment. The return on investment is that person thinks different. That person, because they think different, they can do different things, right? Because they can do different things, they're going to help your organization grow. And if that's not enough for you, then you need to question the leader, because that means they're not ready to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my thought process on it, and that's the way that I always managed it, and I was required at least one course that they have to take every year. And leaders always model the behavior they want to see. Guess what? I was always taking at least one course. Sometimes I take two, but at least one every year. And I'd go in person, and it is what the cost is what it is.
Right.
Right. So
I think that's valuable. I think those are some great tips. We have some great people interacting in the audience. So thank you, Faynetta. Hopefully I got your name right.
Yep,
and
that's
Lona.
right.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for jumping into the chat. It's definitely greatly appreciated of having you here today to support.
Yes, absolutely. So Lona, clarify your question there, because the first part I didn't understand, but I know it says support your organization objective. I'm assuming you're saying, does it support your organizational objectives? And if that's what you're saying, and I'll let you answer as well, Tywauna, but for me, it's absolute yes, right? It doesn't matter what our physical objectives that we wrote down. We know a part of that means we want to be better than we were last year. We want to be better than we were 2 years ago. In order to do that, we have to grow. We have to change. We have to do something out of our comfort zone. The only way you can get outside your comfort zone is you have to grow and stretch. So yes, it definitely meets a part of the organizational objectives. I'll let you answer that as well.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I know within the organization that I'm at, we are looking at ways to develop the leaders to move strategy along. So you can't move strategy if your people are still where they were 5 years ago. It's just no way you can do a new thing if you're still thinking an old way. So yeah, definitely developing the person is going to be consistent with the organizational goals and strategy. So I would agree with that.
Yes, absolutely. And I like that comment, Lana. That's the question that every leader has to ask themselves, right? And if they give themselves the wrong answer, then it's time to bring them to HR and tell them. That's my opinion. You know, it says emotional intelligence, and this is Dan Goleman from the book Emotional Intelligence at Work. He says emotional intelligence accounts for nearly 90% of what sets high performers apart from peers. Right? And I put that quote in the book because it just tells you right there. If you want to set yourself apart, if you want to look at yourself different from everybody else, improve your emotional intelligence, right? And tonight you can do that, right? So I'm going to put Tywauna's link up there. If you want to buy the book from Tywauna, I'm going to put my link up there. You want to go to my website, you can buy the book as well. To me, it doesn't matter where you buy it from. Just make sure that you get it because it's going to benefit you and it's going to be helpful. I'm also, let me take it off, and I'm going to copy and paste it and put it in the chat as well so that you have it there. I'm going to put it back on the screen here in just a second, but I'm going to put it in the chat as well so that way you have that. So I'm going to put it back on the screen here, and then I'm going to go into the comments and I'm going to post that there, and that link will be there for you if you want to purchase that book from Tywauna, and if you want to purchase, I'm going to put the link for my website here, and I'll post that in the comments as well. And here's what I want you to understand. When you purchase this book, what you're saying is, yes, you're supporting us, okay? That's the one thing. But when you purchase the book, what you're really saying is, I want to improve my emotional intelligence for my team. That's the commitment that I want you to make when you purchase this book, okay? I want to improve my emotional intelligence for my team because they're going to be the beneficiary of your improved emotional intelligence, right? I want you to read the book because we put some great stuff in there. And let me just review with you the different chapters that we have in there. And we have to start off with what is emotional intelligence, right? To ground everyone, right? The next thing is Tywauna dives into skills in emotional intelligence in the digital age, right? You see, folks, we didn't put together a book thinking about the old pencil back in, 85. We're in 2024 here. Skills in the digital age, right? And we go talk about verbal communication strategy, nonverbal communication skills that you need, social management and responsibility that you have as a leader, gaining control of your emotions. See, that chapter 6 is going to be critical because this is where you start to gain control of your emotions. Nothing better than having control of what happens. It's sort of like, gamers out there, you play with the joystick and you get to control where the man goes, where he shoots and all this type of stuff. When you gain control of your emotions, you take your life, your leadership life, to a whole nother level. I just want you to understand that. I just want you to know that, right? That's important for you to know and understand and embrace, right? And I love this quote from the book. It says, a person who is in touch with his or her feelings will have a stronger chance of effectively leading those that he or she is responsible for leading. Now that's some powerful stuff right there, guys. Right there, we can just boom, drop the mic. That's powerful stuff. Let you know when you're in control. So when you get the book, go on over to chapter 6 and read chapter 6, and then you go back to chapter 1 and start. Okay. I just want you to. I'm just trying to give you some secrets. All right. So then we go into enhancing your emotional intelligence with artificial intelligence. Right? With AI, navigating online relationships. With high emotional intelligence. So you single folks out there, Well, you may not be. We're not talking about single folks. We're actually talking about in the workplace. But you can get it and try it. So then we go to, EI in business practices, the global impact of EI in business, and then unlocking the power of emotional intelligence, right? So we have some great stuff in this book, right? And we understand that leaders, you may want to bring in people to do workshops for your teams to help your team grow. I just want you to know, in case you didn't know, Tywauna and I are available to bring Leading with Emotional Intelligence workshop to your workplace. All you have to do is reach out to us, and we'll gladly bring our workshop to your place. And let me tell you what so Lana says, yes, that's how I see it. So here's what I want you to know. We've thought through, when we've gone through our process for putting this book together, all the different avenues and spaces, okay? And high emotional intelligence is something that every organization, it doesn't matter if you're selling cars, if you're in school systems, if you're in government agencies, if you're in the hotel industry, you need to have leaders who have a high emotional intelligence. So now I've been talking a whole lot here. Let me give the mic to my co-host here and co-author of Leading with Emotional Intelligence.
Yeah, you did an awesome job, Cedric, of giving our listeners, our viewers, a snippet of the book. See, you got to go and get the book to get all of the details. And what I love about this project is that every chapter, you can have some practical strategies that you can walk away with just out of each chapter. Now, one of my favorites, all of them are my favorite, but one of my favorites, because I think we gave a different twist, is chapter 8, navigating online relationships. So when we think about emotional intelligence, we always think about being in the physical with people. But since COVID, we are online, we're virtual. And so we are on Zoom and Teams and all of these electronic media now more than ever. And the challenge with that is still being able to connect with your team. If your team is remote, being able to recognize those cues of when somebody is not engaged, when you don't have your cameras on, and some people do have their cameras on, there are all different things that comes with emotional intelligence that we may not always think about. And so thinking about being in our online relationships and keeping morale high, boosting engagement with people that are in totally different states from us, or maybe even a totally different country than us. And so I just love that we give the readers different strategies to think about that they could use, whether it was 1995 or 2024. We're giving them something to think about that impacts them today. So you need to pick up the book. Again, we don't care who you pick it up from. Just pick it up and share it with your teams, because there's practical tips that you can use using artificial intelligence. We think about AI all the time, and how can you use that? You can use it as a tool to help you, recognizing your own triggers, right? Because as Lona says, it starts with you. And you have to be in tune and self-aware of your own, knowing what those triggers are. And there's tools out there to help you regulate yourself, help you take those, when you were ready to, as the young people say, pop off and go off on somebody. Some of these can help you, like, you probably need to stop, take a break, take a breath, and then communicate and tackle whatever stressful problem may be coming your way. So I just absolutely love what we're offering. I absolutely love that we have assessments that people can take so that they are able to really know who they are. We have journals that are helping people. So the more in tune you get and do the work within yourself, I just think that this was just a great project of giving practical. I mean, when I say practical, we're giving you stuff you could walk away with, not something that you would just leave on the shelf and not revisit again.
Yeah.
What was your favorite? Listen, I done told you my kind of favorite chapter, Cedric. What was your favorite? Or which one is your favorite, at least today?
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, right? Is which one is the favorite today? So, there's a few chapters. So one in chapter 3, I really enjoy and like. And chapter 4 goes along with it. So 3 is the verbal skills and 4 is the nonverbal skills. So I like the connection there, but I really love how you put together enhancing EI with artificial intelligence, right? I like that because it just helps. One, we're keeping up with what's happening now. And then 2, helping people understand and embrace artificial intelligence to help you grow and get better, faster, stronger, more equipped as a leader. And, in the book, we put in here, let me see the chapter. I want to say it's chapter. Oh, it's the very first chapter. We put in here the 6 seconds model. Right. And this is where 3 things you're going to do. One is know yourself is going to give you your what as a leader. Choose yourself is going to provide you the how, and give yourself is going to deliver the why. You as a leader. Right. And I really like that because what it's going to help you understand how to better impact, better connect with your people in a workplace. And this is not just the people that report into you, it's people that you work with, your peers, as well as your upline, right? So you're going to see when you order the book that putting this 6 seconds model into action is going to help you do a lot of things better. And so it's going to tell you what questions to ask yourself, right? It's going to give you an example of how it applies and what it means. Then you get to then embrace those things and then continue on with the book. But so those are chapters that I like, but I like some tidbits that are in the chapter as well. And one of the things that you put in here that I really like are, and this is in chapter 3, I believe it is, 2 is where you go over the practical tips of empathy, right? And in here, she gives you what's a good practice and what's a poor practice. She gives you an example and what's a good practice and what's a poor practice, right? This is a nice chart that you could print up and hang up somewhere when you're on the phone with your team, your colleagues. The practice for empathy. Here's a good practice for listening. Here's a poor practice, right? So it's really going to help you become a better, more effective leader. I actually really like that chart. And I could see, if I was still in corporate, I could see putting that on my wall. Like I used to have I have another chart that I was using, situational leadership, right? I'll put that chart there so that I can remind myself every day. I could see this chart being there as well to help me remind me what to do in different situations. right? So now let's keep going here. We have a few minutes left. Let me see. We've been on for 54 minutes. Jesus, the one we've been a long time.
I know that's what.
So
when it's good, when it's good discussion.
Yeah. Great discussion, right? And here's what I want to challenge the audience with. By the end of the night, I want Tywauna box to be filled with orders for this book. By the end of the night, I want Cedric's inbox to be filled with orders for this book. So what I want you to do, whichever place you decide to buy the book from, what I want you to do is to get the book, buy the book tonight, and then refer a friend. Have them buy the book tonight, right? And the reason why I'm saying tonight, folks, is because if you put it off till later to do it tomorrow, it's going to be, you're not going to do it, right? Until you see a post about it several weeks from now. But I want you to do that tonight, right? Commit to yourself that you're going to get this book tonight so that it ships out to you and you get it, and then you can start putting some of these things in place. The commitment starts with getting the book first, right? Mm-hmm. You can't do anything else until you commit to doing something, and then you actually take action on it. When you take action on it, now you know you're in the game, right? So, Tywauna, in this book, we put some things in here that I put it in here. I said 8 statements that every child needs to hear. Emotionally strong parents will say these things to their kids, right? So, and that's another part that I want to make sure we didn't say it a lot here, but I want to make sure you understand. When you improve your emotional intelligence, yeah, you may be doing it for work, but let me tell you what happens. You carries over to your home life. And children need emotionally strong parents. All right. Here are the 7 statements that every kid needs to hear, want to hear. I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. I'm listening. You did great. You've got what it takes. That's what they need to hear. That's what they want to hear. It's right in the book for you to get it and read it. I do this as an experiment with kids, and I'll put this in a document, and I'll have them to put it up on their refrigerator. And then I tell them, just wait and see what the conversation is going to be from your parents when you put it up. And it's amazing what happens. Some parents have questioned their kids. Well, do I not say that I love you? Do I not tell you that I'm proud of you? And here's what children normally say. Well, yeah, you say it, but you normally say it when I'm rushing, getting out of the car, when you drop me off at school, or if I'm leaving to go somewhere. But you don't say it when we're just sitting here face to face having a conversation. You don't just say, hey, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. I'm listening to you. You did great. You've got what it takes. They need to hear that from you. And when you become an emotionally strong parent, you say those things all the time to your kids. It was shocking to me, Tywauna, and then I'm gonna shut up. It was shocking to me because I thought that I say these things to my kids, and they also told me the same thing. Well, yeah, we say it when we're hanging up over the phone versus, right? It makes a difference. So let me be quiet for a second here.
No, I think that's important. I think that's important to make sure that we are showing up, for our families, for our children, as well as for our teams in the workplace. And I can see how that could go where you're saying it on the go, right? We just get to, well, I love you, and, on the way to dropping them off. But it does make a difference. My daughter will be 5 next month. And so I try to make it a point of always saying, I love you, and I'm proud of you, and you're so smart. And, all of those things that she remembers because she remember everything. She's taking notes.
She has receipts.
She got receipts, and she's trying to cash in on them for her birthday gifts. But it makes a difference when you have that, you know, when somebody is invested in you, when somebody is committed to you and they are emotionally attached to you, it makes a tremendous difference in your life. So I'm glad that we put that in the book so that people know that the strategies, the tips, the information that we are given will positively impact your life inside and outside of a workplace, in your personal life. And that's where it starts. If you're not emotionally connected at home, you're probably not emotionally connected at work.
Oh,
yeah. Listen. And so it makes a huge difference. So I'm glad that you said that. And I know that our time it will be coming to a close, but I do want to make sure that we give the viewers a preview of what's next. I know you were going to talk about that. And if there are any final takeaways. And for me, the takeaway is get this book. You know, we want to make sure that you have the tools to be successful at home, at work, and wherever you go, so that you're making a positive impact wherever you go. Because again, it starts with you. And when you have a high level of emotional intelligence, you yourself feel better. You yourself is less burnt out, less stressed out. Why? Because you've equipped yourself with tools to be able to manage and self-regulate. And all of those things are important, I think, now more than ever. And so for me, just thinking about this book and thinking about what we gave, I think it's so valuable that we talk about the nonverbal, the verbal. Me still in the workplace with multiple generations, you can't talk about emotional intelligence without talking about the digital era. I was with some colleagues and they, you know, when they told me when they graduated from college, and I had graduated way longer than that. I'm like, I guess I'm on the older side here. But
it's funny being the same age as old people.
Right. I guess now that's me. But our conversation is different, and different is okay. Different isn't a bad thing. But just using these tools is helping me navigate the different generations in the workplace. And I hope that this book will allow others to do the same. And I think it will. I know it will. So that's really my takeaway, is that you need a tool that's multifaceted that will help you navigate at home as well as in the workplace, because now more than ever, our families, our teams are demanding for their leaders, their parents, to be emotionally intelligent.
Yes, absolutely. So there were two questions that popped up on the screen, and the one that's on here now is, and it's a reflective question that's in the book: am I healing or am I hurting? It's a question for you, right? And the other question was, what is this emotion telling me? See, when you learn the power of your emotions, it's going to tell you something. So you need to ask yourself, what is this emotion telling me? Right? It's a powerful question. Think on it. Let it marinate with you for a little bit. So now we talk about what's next, right? And we're look at Dr. 𝗟𝗲𝗱𝗶 coming on here. But guess what? Dr. 𝗟𝗍𝗍's mom had to tell Dr. 𝗟𝗍𝗍 that we were live, right? And Dr. 𝗟𝗍𝗍's mom is checking us out. So hello, mama. So, you know, when we think about having a strategy. I talked about this early on. You got to have a strategy of when you're writing a book, right? We have a strategy. We have a plan. The first book that we put together was The Blueprint for Manager Success, right? Then I wrote a personal book, The $1 Million Beach House. And now Leading with Emotional Intelligence, right? There's a plan. It's a leadership book. Now, this is a book dealing with the power of emotions, and it falls under personal development. Next, we want to help those new and aspiring leaders in developing a high performance team. Now, that may not be the name of the book, but that's what the focus is going to be. How to develop, how to manage, lead a high performance team, high performance players, high performance actions in everything that you do, right? And let me tell you what, when we come out with that book, man, it's going to be just as impactful and powerful. And notice what we're doing here, okay? Because there's a strategy. The Blueprint for Manager Success, giving you tips and tools that you need to be a good man, how to be a good manager. Then we're going to tap into the power of your emotions and your emotional intelligence. How now to better connect with your team, okay? And then the next book is going to help you understand how to lead those people in a high performance way. So what does a high performance leader look like? Then what are the qualities? What are the attributes? What are the benefits of a high performance team? Now, high performance teams have leaders who have strong emotional intelligence. The Blueprint for Manager Success is the foundation that you needed. Now we start getting into you with leading with emotional intelligence, and then how to have these high performance teams. We have a whole strategy. We have all the books already written out in the different categories. I'm going to share all those with you tonight. No, you're not going to twist my arm. I'm not sharing that tonight. But just be ready for toward the end of the year with a high performance team book that's going to be coming out. But right now, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and click the link. I'm going to put them back in the comments again. I'm going to put Tywauna's link in the chat, and I'll put mine as well. And what I want you to do is I want you to go out and click one of those links and buy the book. When did I say buy it tonight? Right? Tonight. I don't want you to delay. When you delay, that means you're not going to do anything. So what I want you to do is click the link and buy it tonight. If you trust me, benefit from it, trust me, you're going to be glad that you did. When you buy the book, you'll notice that you can also get an emotional intelligence assessment, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to, take that emotional intelligence assessment. And then if you want to book a call to talk about it, we can do that and help you think through how to be a more emotionally strong leader for your team. Mm-hmm. So we want to say thank you very much for joining us tonight. We want you to share the link with people. We want you to become a better leader, a stronger leader, a more powerful leader, a more impactful leader. And when you're emotionally strong as a leader, you influence, you impact, and you empower your team to go to a whole nother level. Tywauna, I don't know if you want to say anything else. If you do, go right ahead. If you don't, we'll end the show.
I think you have said it all, Cedric. I do want to take a moment just to say thank you because you have been my mentor since we have met at the John Maxwell Leadership Team Certification event. And I'm taking a moment to say that because sometimes we are powerful as one, but when you get with somebody else who helps you up level your strengths, you're even more powerful. And so the power of collaboration and partnership. And I just want you to know that I appreciate that. I appreciate you seeing in me my strengths, and I appreciate, sometimes being the mentor to you too. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. That's just giving me my roses tonight, right?
Listen, you got to give people their roses when they shining.
And you're absolutely right. And when people on fire, guess what happens, people? People will come from miles around to watch you burn. And I want you to know something. Tywauna, the coach T. Wilson, is burning. She's on fire. She is doing amazing things in the laboratory space. She's doing some amazing things with Trendy Elite Media Group. Look at that, folks. Trendy Elite Media Group. You see what I'm saying? That's the type of people I'm hanging with. And she's published many books for many different clients. Do you have a number of how many books published your company has published?
At this point, it's over 10. It's over 10 different types of books, but with about, I would say, 60 different authors that I've taken through the coaching, through the writing process, publishing, and helping to launch their book.
Yes. And let me tell you what, folks, if you want a person to coach you in writing a book, Tywauna is the person. I know a lot of people call me and ask me, but I'm not the one, because all I'm going to do is tell you to call Tywauna. All right. So I'm just telling you now, you can just skip the middleman, right? In this case, I'm the middleman. You just go. She's the coach. I don't just let anybody coach me and give me direction and all that type stuff, right? Tywauna is one of those people who I trust in this process because she knows her stuff. She's good at it. She's run ahead in this space. I love it. I go to her and I let her tell me what's the best way to do these things. So if you want someone to help you, get off the couch. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Stop looking at your calendar saying, I'm going to do it next month, next week, next year. Start looking at your watch and saying, in the next 30 minutes, in the next hour, I'm going to reach out to Tywauna from Trendy Elite Media and ask her to help me. Be prepared, folks, to start running, because she is not a walking type woman. She is a running person. So when you call her, she's ready to go. It's not that she has to get ready. She's already ready, right? We are built different, folks. And if you want different, then you're going to reach out to her. And let me tell you what, she's going to help you get running. So, hey, for the Built Different team, we're going to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Go ahead and get the book. Tell a friend. You know that whole saying, phone a friend. Right? Friend, tell somebody. Leading with emotional intelligence, unpacking the power of your emotions one step at a time. Go get it. Thank you, guys, and good night.